Welcome back to the Alec Lewis Show. I am your host, Alec Lewis. This is episode 96, recording on Tuesday, July 15th, back in the Minnesota studios because a week from today, training camp will be pretty close to underway. The players will be back in town. Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah and Kevin O'Connell will have done their press conference previewing training camp, and we'll be close to being back on the field. Can't wait for it. Love being back around all the folks internally, watching ball on the practice field, and then just ramping things up from a coverage standpoint. It's the most fun time of year where every hope and every wish and every dream is wide open, especially here in a place where dreams are necessary because the history is what it is. Today, on the Alec Lewis Show, here's what we're going to do, all right? I'm going to give you 10 things that I'm really excited for training camp. I wouldn't say these are the things I'm most excited. Just when I thought about it and I knew I was going to do a show today, episode 96 of the Alec Lewis Show, I'm like, I'm going to put 10 things down that I'm looking forward to seeing. So we're going to start there. And then I asked for you guys to send over some questions, some Vikings thoughts and comments you had in mind for me. Ask for those on social media Tuesday morning. Got a bunch of good ones, so we'll get into that after I give you the 10 things I am very excited for training camp. A couple notes for housekeeping before we begin. The first is we are doing a giveaway on this show. It's going to be for episode 100, kind of a thank you, a gratitude, a celebration. Here's what you got to do. You got to like the post on Twitter announcing the giveaway. You got to follow us on Instagram, Alec Lewis Show. You got to follow us on Twitter, Alec Lewis Show as well. And then subscribe to this podcast on YouTube, which is, if you're watching on YouTube, it's right below, right there. You hit the button, you're done, and easy as that. What do you get if you win the giveaway? Great question. You get a few things. The first is a Jersey Mike's gift card. If you're new to this show, this is your first time watching, you should know that I will be mentioning Jersey Mike's a lot. I love it. I like a lot of different sandwiches. People ask all the time what I like in particular, and I go on and on and on. So you get a $50 Jersey Mike's gift card, a t-shirt with the Alec Lewis Show logo, so you could walk around with it and people are going to be like, man, that's the Vikings podcast I need to be listening to. And then you're also going to get 2 tickets to an undisclosed Vikings game this season, courtesy of our sponsor, First Resource Bank. They present every single show that we do. That is a local bank, a member FDIC bank, run by a bunch of guys and folks, guys and girls, who are big Vikings fans. They care about this local community. Tim Siegley, Aaron Siegley, Charlie Anderson. We're fortunate that they're willing to provide us 2 tickets to give away to you guys as part of episode 100. So what you have to do, all of the steps I promise it doesn't take that long. The information is in the description of this show. Please go check that out. Join in the giveaway. Going to be pumped to send that off to somebody who is an avid listener and who cares about the show, because we built this thing really for a year now. We're almost on the milestone, and it's been a blast doing it. I can't wait to get into training camp. We're going to have multiple shows a week. We'll do live shows. I mean, it's going to be some nonstop stuff because of how much fun we've had. So stay tuned for that. And then if you're new here, I write for The Athletic. I cover the team day to day over there. We got stories galore coming. Been putting in a lot of work behind the scenes. Can't wait for you guys to check that stuff out. All right, that's 4 minutes of housekeeping. Somebody in the comments is going to yell at me for that, and I'm probably deserving of it, but I can take it. So let's hop right in to 10 things that I am excited for training camp. We're going to start in a crazy place. I promise it's going to surprise you. And we're going to start with J.J. McCarthy. Yeah. I was just in Chicago, seeing some buddies, having a good time, eating some food at La Scarola, some of the best pasta you're going to find in this country. And I was also there to talk to some people who know this guy who will be the Vikings quarterback this year, wears number 9, who you know, and his name's J.J. McCarthy. And the first thing I'm excited about for training camp is to see the way he interacts with teammates and the way teammates interact with him. I mean, you talk to anybody who has observed JJ, who has been around JJ, and I'm talking in terms of his background going back to Nazareth Academy in Chicago. I'm talking IMG Academy down in Bradenton, Florida. I'm talking Michigan and Ann Arbor. And you talk to anybody, and they will rave to a level that is, it's wild about his ability to walk into a place, into a room, and light it up and motivate people and hold people to a certain standard and get along with people and have them rally around him. And so you saw a little bit of it last year in training camp. I mean, I can remember, and I've written about this, I've said it on the podcast, remember a specific throw he made one day out on the practice field, and he's out there after the throw, chest bumping with Nick Muse, getting pats on the helmet from some of the veterans. People are hooting and hollering. It's a blast out there. And that type of energy from the people around him, directly from him, I just can't wait to see how much we see of that and what little minutia ways we see that. I'm going to talk about JJ on the field ad nauseum over the course of these next couple months. I'm going to write about it, but it's those kind of behind the scenes when no one's watching. What do you see? What type of just composure? What type of magnetism? It's that layer of what we're about to see in training camp that I'm very curious about, and I'm just very excited to get to see, because those are the unscripted, those are the non-football human kind of aspects that just always are fun and enjoyable to kind of get a feel for. So we'll start there. The next thing I'm excited for training camp is JJ McCarthy on the field, and in particular the 7-on-7 and 11-on-11 full speed reps. This may surprise you. I was talking last year with a guy named Mike Ayers, who is a longtime director of research and development, which stands for analytics in the NFL. And Mike worked for 2 decades with the Vikings organization, and the Green Bay Packers plucked him away. Wrote a long story about Mike. But one of the things, I sat in his living room for 3 hours, and we talked, his path, analytics, evaluating football, his lens, and he's been a resource for me ever since then, and will always be, because of how much I value the way he thinks about the game. One of the things he said to me then that I've never forgotten, and that has always been interesting to me, is he asked this question as we're sitting in his living room. He's like, Alec, what do you think the most, what do you think the drill is on the practice field that has the most influence or gives you the best feel for what's going to happen on Sundays? And I sat there for a second and I'm thinking, I don't know, it's probably like the 11-on-11 full team drill. So I tossed that out to him. No, he shakes his head. Take another guess. Routes on air, certain. No. And so I said, Mike, just tell me what is the one football drill that happens on the practice field that has the most predictive measure, to success on what happened on Sunday? He said, this is going to surprise you, but it's actually 7-on-7. And I'm like, really? 7-on-7? I always viewed 7-on-7 football at the high school level as this, passing camp type of field. But he's like, no, all the studies that we produced over the time that I was in the league would tell you that how a quarterback performs in a 7-on-7 drill sequence has the most predictive value to what you see on Sunday, specifically from the quarterback. And so back to what I'm excited about for training camp in terms of JJ McCarthy, like I will be very locked in to those 7-on-7 reps. Will I be charting them? Probably not. Will I be, will I have a hawk on every single one? I'm not going to lie to you and say that's going to be the case. But I will tell you that I will be very clued in to how he's performing in those segments. And then one of my favorite drills to watch on the practice field, and if you guys go to training camp, first of all, say hello if you see me. Second of all, see if you can be locked in on the red zone opportunities. And you guys might be listening to this, might be asking, why red zone? That's kind of random. Well, everything moves so fast down there. The decision making is so quick. And specifically for a quarterback, there's a lot of bodies in a very short area. And so there's just a lot the quarterback has to sift through. They have to make very quick decisions with what they see. And that is a snapshot at the potential processing speed of a quarterback. And those who know me, like my friends, they'll ask me all the time, Alec, what do you think about DJ? I'm a big SEC football guy, obviously, being from Birmingham, Alabama. Alec, what do you think of DJ Lagway? What do you think of Garrett Nussmeier? What do you think of Bryce Young, back when Bryce Young was at Alabama? And you can evaluate a lot of things. And I mean, Kevin O'Connell talks about valuing accuracy for quarterbacks and big field vision. And one of the addendums to the big field vision in my lens and how I view quarterback play is a quarterback's processing speed. I think it is so important to the guys at this level in particular, where things are moving so fast. I think it is so integral to success. And what do I mean by processing speed? It's not, you hear all the time, man, that player's really smart. But it's not the smarts of a quarterback. It's not, can they understand a lot of playbook intricacies, recall, like that smarts of a quarterback is very important. But what I care about from the brain's perspective is how quick can you see a stimulus and react to it. Like certain guys just are and girls in other sports are better at viewing something and being able to react to it in split-second decision-making. And I'd say with J.J. McCarthy, we just haven't, at least since he's been a Minnesota Viking, there just have not been a ton of opportunities to assess him in that regard. Now, the people I talk to who evaluate these things, who have thought about this skill set with J.J. McCarthy over time, they think he can be very good in this area and better than, probably even a Sam Darnold, who obviously performed last year. And so it's over the middle of the field throws. It's red zone where things are happening really fast. Like that, those areas in training camp, I'm just really excited to see with J.J. McCarthy on the field. All right, we'll move on. Number 3, it's not the sexiest, but the run types and the run designs that this Vikings team is utilizing in training camp. It's hard to see. I'm not going to lie. Like as I'm out there, you got to get a very good angle because you're far away. They're in the middle of the field. You got to see which offensive linemen are pulling, where guys are starting. It is a complex thing to try to evaluate. At least all I'm speaking for is myself out on the field in training camp practices in terms of what the run game designs is going to be. But I try to get as best of a vantage point as I can. Started to do this more and more last year because of how important I think the run game is to what this Vikings team wants to accomplish. And so, again, it's hard to see. You can get bored trying to watch it. But my kind of one of the themes for me for this training camp is I want to get bored watching the run game. I want to get bored seeing the types of designs. Are they deploying more gap schemes with pullers? Are they focusing primarily on duo, which is a run scheme, which is a vertical run where the running back presses forward and then can bounce outside? Or are they sticking to kind of the base of the last few years where it is a lot of mid-zone where you press the edge and then cut back? If you're watching on YouTube, I'm doing these hand designs. It's probably not making any sense, but it feels really good. You feel like you're in football form doing it. So the tagline for me is I'm excited to get bored watching the run game this fall. I want that to happen because to me, that will be a reflection of, the amount of emphasis and the amount of intentionality put into this area that, again, I think is huge. And I said this on the radio with Paul Charchian on Monday in a very brief segment on 9 to Noon. He was co-host and he's the man. And I said, I think the run game is so important, not only to establish physicality, that's obvious, not only to extend into January where the teams that run the ball really effectively win at that time of year, but I just to allow J.J. McCarthy to take the necessary steps to be the guy that we all want him to be, running the football allows him to do that. And running the football a lot will by no means be a referendum on his ability, but more a rock, a center, a base to then allow JJ again to progress the way that quarterbacks at this level need to progress. So that's number 4. Number 3, excuse me. Number 4, what I'm excited to see in training camp: Ty Felton and Rondale Moore. Kind of, we're in the weeds here. I mean, I'm not going to lie. We are. I mean, this is the nitty gritty. This is the, wide receiver conversation. But Ty Felton, it was interesting this spring. There were some drops that I would say, for me, I mean, you just don't want to be dropping routes on air. So that's something for me to watch. But I also like his body type, his length, his ability after the catch. All of those aspects of his potential, for me, are going to be very interesting to follow. And then Rondale Moore, didn't see any of them this spring other than side work on the practice field. He's returning from obviously the very serious knee injury that he suffered last fall. But can he pick up this offense? Can he be deployed on a gadget basis? Can he be just an interesting additional weapon? Can he line up out wide and run routes the way that you need to in this Kevin O'Connell offense, which is so multiple, which requires guys to line up in so many different spots? Like, those two are going to be, I'm going to have my eyes on. I mean, we don't really, Justin Jefferson, who we'll get to in the question portion of this podcast, Jordan Addison, Jalen Naylor, like, I've got faith in those guys. We can dissect Jalen Naylor. That's probably a topic for another time, but I still have more faith in most of all, his ability to understand this offense, to be able to do the many types of things you have to do in this offense. So Ty Felton, Rondale Moore, seeing where they're at. That's number 4 on my excitement list. Number 5, Donovan Jackson. You almost forget about the Vikings' first-round pick because of how much attention there is on J.J. McCarthy and Dallas Turner, last year's first-round pick, who we're going to get to, and the run game and the cornerback room and Josh Metellus' contract. And all of that stuff. You almost forget that the Vikings drafted an interior offensive lineman who, played a ton, was versatile at Ohio State. How does he progress? Can he be a day one starter at left guard? And will the Vikings need him to be in the event Christian Darrisaw can't start the season at left tackle? And that requires some moving around. Like I all of that for me, just watching Donovan Jackson in one-on-ones, going up against the Jonathan Allen, going up against Javon Hargrave. Like, how lucky am I that I get to be out there watching Donovan Jackson try to stop Jonathan Allen's chop hump move, whatever the hell that is. But someone mentioned it this spring, so I can't wait to see the chop hump. Number 6 on the excitement list for the Alec Lewis Show training camp excitement list. Number 1 in a long line of, I'm sure, what will be 20 years of us going through this list. Maybe not. Where is Dallas Turner lining up? How much is he off the ball? Is he at nickel? Is he on the ball? Is he on the ball next to Andrew Van Ginkel? Is he on the ball in the middle of the line of scrimmage mugging the A-gap? Like, where is Dallas Turner? Where is Brian Flores putting him? How does he look in those spots where Brian Flores is putting him? And how is he handling all of it? Like you heard on our last episode, which I really enjoyed with Ali Connolly, this is not an easy defense to pick up, especially if you're going to play multiple roles, because of the amount of mental wherewithal you have to know where to line up and how to play. But Dallas Turner and where Brian Flores is playing him, that's number 6 on my excitement list. I just can't wait to see it, because you really, this spring, did not see a ton of real, where you're in it and you feel like they're really giving you the snapshot of what's possible. Number 7 on the excitement list, another deep cut, Kobe King, the linebacker that the Vikings took in the 6th round of the draft. I did not expect the Vikings taking off-ball linebacker until the lead up to the pick. Just felt like, whether it was going to be running back, again, you didn't see the Jordan Mason move happening, but whether it was going to be running back, tight end, pass rush, like there was a lot of options. And then for them to take Kobe King, the Penn State linebacker in the 6th round, means somebody internally really believes in what this guy can be. his bread and butter is run defense, is physicality. His progression point is going to be coverage off the ball. How much growth has he made in that area? How quickly has he picked up this defense? Will we see him at all on the practice field with the starters? How much will he mix in? What will the packages be where Kobe King is mixing in? All of that, to me, I'm excited to see. I really am. I can't even lie about it. It's just how it is. Isaiah Rodgers and his, swagger is probably number 8 on the excitement list. Like, you've read my work, probably. You've listened to the podcast. Brian Flores in this personnel department identified Isaiah Rodgers as a guy who could step in and play make at cornerback for this defense, playing a lot. He is not the biggest guy. He is, again, smaller in stature, but he's willing to be physical. He has ball skills. Again, I started with the swagger. He just kind of got that cornerback, I'm better than you, and I'm about to show it type of vibe. So just watching him on a day-to-day in practice is going to be very fun against an offense that always airs it out. And I mean, I can't wait really for the joint practices against the Patriots. You got Stephon Diggs out there lining up against Isaiah Rodgers. Probably going to get some good barbs back and forth. Barbs is a word to put it nicely, but just can't wait for that. Number 9 on the excitement list, will the Vikings add a cornerback? I'm excited to see that. Who would that be? And then when would that be? Like, I would be pretty surprised at this point if something big happened before the beginning of training camp. I haven't been told this, but what I would say is it'd probably make more sense to see how things progress. Last year, early on in training camp, Mekhi Blackmon had the knee injury, tore his ACL, and so the Vikings had to make the move that they ended up making was Stephon Gilmore. Dwight McGlothern, how does he look? I mentioned Mekhi, but back from injury, how is Mekhi looking out on the practice field? Jeff Okudah, how is Jeff Okudah, going to look when things are moving faster, when he can't just thrive on physicality at the line of scrimmage? And if there is an injury, if there is a dip in performance, will the Vikings be aggressive and go out and find either a free agent or a potential trade acquisition? And when will they do that? Who will that be? That's an excitement point for me. And if they don't, I mean, that's exciting and unto itself. Exciting is one word for it. Like, that would, declare what they've proven thus far is that their actions follow their words in terms of how much they believe in this cornerback room. So we'll see there. And then number 10, and this isn't going to be where you'd expect me to end, but just Theo Jackson. Watching Theo Jackson every day. Every time we're out on the practice field, in training camp, in the spring, any of that stuff, it's been a joy to watch Theo Jackson and his ball skills and his physicality and his communication. He's always shown up. He's always produced. And people internally, coaches and players, have always felt like he had what it took to be an everyday guy. And he's paid his dues, and he's stuck around, and he's been an incredible teammate in that room. And now he will, have the opportunity to now produce the way he has for years on a meaningful level, in a meaningful role where he's going to have to be that guy for this defense to continue to be what it's been over the last couple of years. And that's been, as confounding as any defense in the NFL. So those are the 10. That's the excitement list. I probably forgot something obvious, but this was just spur to the mind, top of head, things I'm very excited about for training camp and to see when we're out there. And so that's the list of 10. What do you think about it? What am I missing? What are you guys excited about? I'm interested. I'm curious because that stuff drives a lot of how I, spend my time, where I position myself on the practice field, who I'm asking questions of. I can't wait to hear what you guys can't wait for come training camp. All right, let's get to the questions. All right, the first question here comes from Nick Miller, the always trusty listener. He asked, did you have a restful summer break? Are you ready for one of the most interesting and potentially impactful Viking seasons since you arrived? Before things start in earnest, how would we define success? Holy cow, Nick. I mean, you are loaded and ready to rock. We'll go one by one. Did I have a restful summer break? No. There's a lot in NFL. People ask all the time, and this is not a complaint, by the way. If you can probably tell, I love the job. I love working. Driven. It's how this is the blessing and the curse of the host of the Alec Lewis show. But people ask all the time, what do you do in the NFL offseason? Well, after the season, you got to analyze, evaluate what happened, what to do moving forward. Then you get to the free agency, combine, owners meetings. That's a lot of relationship conversations, evaluations, stories, previews, all that stuff. Then you get to the draft. You guys love the draft. I love the draft. It's fascinating. I watch players. I write about it. I talk to people and try to figure out what the Vikings are going to do. You're speaking to teams and agents and people and executives and all that stuff, and it's a blast. And then you get to, mini camp, and this year obviously had JJ McCarthy back on the field, so that was intriguing. Then you get a couple days at the beach, couple trips, couple stuff like that. But it's never restful because you're always thinking next story, all of that. Are you ready for one of the most interesting and potentially impactful Vikings seasons since you arrived? By the tone of my voice throughout this broadcast, do you think I am ready? I think you're exactly right, Nick. And Paul Charchian, I got to give him credit. He said this, but he's like, this might be the most interesting training camp in recent Vikings history. And he's probably right on. And I said to him, and I really believe this, and it's of my opinion that as this training camp progresses and as JJ McCarthy stays healthy and as the reports start to surface, you're going to get more and more coverage nationally. I expect the national shows on ESPN and elsewhere to be talking about it. I expect over at The Athletic, a lot of our national writers to be very invested. I expect, Robert Mays on his show to be talking about it. I expect Diana Rossini to be talking about it. I mean, we go on and on. But I don't know if we've seen the full extent of how much fascination, interest, intrigue there's going to be with this quarterback, with this team, and what the Vikings are trying to do here. So I'm ready for it. I can't wait. Like I said, kind of at the top. Been spent a lot of time talking to a lot of people, and it's on some of those Tuesdays in the offseason where, you could be out at the pool out here, but it's just, a drive to be able to get at the truth and just get at the human beings who these people are and just continue to progress in the job. So, can't wait. And then before things start in earnest, how do we define success? I mean, that one it's so tough in my role to tell you, people who have watched this team longer than I have, who have spent hard-earned money on this team, who have, whether that's tickets, whether that's jerseys, whether that's time, whether that's relationships with fathers or mothers or cousins or brothers or sisters. You have so much invested that for someone who parachutes in, who, yes, I give it everything I've got, to tell you what success should be, it just doesn't really feel fair from my perch, from my, from this seat. I just wouldn't feel comfortable doing that. I think my lens on this is this year, I will probably get it, and you ride the wave of how things go, and that will probably affect, the end result and how you feel about it. But I mean, if this season goes and JJ McCarthy stays healthy and the arc of his performance and progression is a positive, linear path, and he gets to the end of the year and he's healthy and he's shown some really good flashes, and you can feel like he is the guy moving forward, and you've done that by winning more than, probably winning 10 games at the minimum, really vying for the playoff spot. The hope would be that you get in and really are competitive and hopefully would win a game. But I think I'm a very long-term oriented person, thinker, the people who have had success in every line of work in the world. They think long term. And so for me, like the long term of being positioned, knowing that your quarterback puts you in position to have many bites at the apple. If that's what you can take out of this year, that you have to probably feel really, really good about that. And if you get to the end and that's your feeling, then you can define that as a success for as gut wrenching probably as things go. But similar to like what excites me, like I'd be curious for you, Nick, and for others listening to this, put in the comments, send me on like what you think has to happen for you to feel like this is a success. And maybe you're at a point in life where you don't have time to think like you want it now. And I can understand that perspective as well. It's an interesting one. And so I appreciate the question. The next question comes from Rock NHL. Do you anticipate any JJ McCarthy preseason snaps? So I'm going to start by saying this. I have no intel on this. Haven't asked anybody about it. It's too early for that, in my opinion. And people have been off. I've been off. It just hasn't happened yet. And so I say all that because if this gets aggregated as something that's going to happen, I don't want, you're going to have to hold the team. That's not really a fair thing. And I have to be very open about that, just to guard against getting in trouble or making anybody mad or setting the wrong expectations. But so I know intel, but my read I would expect some preseason snaps. And that's just because, you saw them last year. You're making up for lost time from an on-field, feel the pocket, see the throws, make them in real time standpoint. Now, just like last year, the most fruitful opportunity in training camp from Kevin O'Connell's perspective is joint practices. He has never shied away from that. It's why last year in Cleveland, JJ McCarthy was going to get as many first team reps there as at any point. Those were going to be the most, pivotal opportunities for JJ to show what he was capable of. And I expect the same this year in the joint practice with the Patriots. And then we'll see if something ends up happening with the Rams. But I don't know where that stands either. But I would say I'd be pretty shocked if you go through all 3 preseason games and he just doesn't get any time. Now, the argument or the devil's advocate would be, well, why would we risk injury? But if you're worried that any snaps in a preseason game have the potential to have some serious injury, I think you got other fish to fry and other really big questions to probably consider. So that's how I'd answer that. The next question comes from Kevin O'Cop. I like that name. The profile picture is O'Connell with a mustache. That was an exceptional moment. They asked, which quarterback are you most excited to see Flores game plan for? My answer is Joe Burrow, because and that Bengals team, and there are a couple reasons why. First of all, I love watching Joe Burrow play, post-snap processing, seeing things. He's just so good. And so you just have, and he just recognizes and understands. You just have to be such on your P's and Q's. And that's typically what Flores and this defensive staff are. And so that's the pick. It's easy to choose Lamar Jackson. I don't blame anybody if they're screaming at me and being like, why would you not do that? A few years ago when Brian Flores and Miami Dolphins matched up against Lamar, they played probably 30 snaps of cover 0. It was an unbelievable game. So it's not like I'm not pumped for that one. But the other aspect with Joe Burrow and this Bengals team, or there are two. One, how do you try to stop Jamar Chase if you're as sharp of a coordinator as there is in the NFL? And do you put 2 guys? How do you try to do that? I just think that plan will be fascinating. And then the third aspect, and maybe the most interesting for me, is I would say in 2023, Brian Flores' first year, they tried, that defensive scheme was just such an oddball approach of you're blitzing 8, you're dropping 8, it was just an insane strategy. And the first time where it really felt like another team, had the answers was that Bengals game. If I'm not mistaken, it was week 13. It was in Cincinnati. I was there. I had to go to a wedding that day, but obviously I watched every snap many, many times over. and the Bengals just dissected the Vikings in the middle of the field, and they really figured out the way. So, for me, it's, this defense is totally different. The personnel is totally different. Can Brian Flores kind of get back at them? Will the Bengals try similar, the dagger concept with the dig over the middle of the field? Like that was a major tool in their toolbox that day. So that's where my mind goes in answering that question. The next comes from Purple Nurple. They say, saw a clip of Justin Jefferson saying that a receiver has to take responsibility if the quarterback-receiver connection is off. I saw the clip too. You're not going to see many elite receivers say that. That is a glimpse at Justin Jefferson. The next part of the Purple Nurple question, did you see that with Sam Darnold during camp last year? And what do you think it was, and do you think it was a contributing factor to Darnold's success? How has Justin's leadership grown since Kirk left? All right, we're going to go one by one. Did you see Jefferson taking responsibility last year with Sam Darnold during camp? I don't know if there's like a specific moment in my mind where he did that, but I would say Justin, the other aspect is Justin is very good from a body language standpoint. If it's a bad throw, if it's a poor decision, you never really can tell that Justin is irked by it. And these guys, these professional athletes are hyper aware of body language, of how, people feel. And I have to think that played a big role in Sam Darnold's confidence. And I mean, do I think it was a contributing factor to Sam's success? Absolutely. You saw over the course of the season how praiseworthy Justin was, how much. I remember the Falcons game where they're showing Sam Darnold on the big screen, and Justin was just loving the intensity of Sam Darnold. And you could feel that. You could feel it in the locker room. You could feel how much the guys, specifically Justin Jefferson, like relished in Sam and the arc of that, what that season was. And then how has Justin's leadership grown since Kirk left? I mean, I don't know if Justin will ever be like the vocal, rah-rah, yell at guys type of way, but it's serious to him. Winning is important to him. And having a locker room of good guys who can joke around, but who take it seriously and aren't like messing around. I mean, it's important to him. And Justin's a goofy guy and he loves the spotlight. Like it's all like the commercials, like he loves all that stuff. It's the joy of, the kid who had these dreams getting to be where he is. But there is no question he has taken it upon himself he showed up to organize team activities that he didn't have to show up to, and agreed to do that because he knew that would streamline and supercharge J.J. McCarthy's growth and development. So you just see it all the time. You see it, you don't see it when it's happening, but it's a good point to bring up, and it's just something I don't think you can ever really talk enough about. All right, we'll do a couple more here, and then I'll hop out of here. Skull at Cursed Viking fan. What's the plan at left tackle until Darisaw gets back? I would expect it to be Justin School. It was a sneaky little signing. He played like 5 games last year, started for the Tampa Bay Bucks, and performed well. Just a better swing tackle. And I love David Quessenberry as a guy, but Justin School is a younger, better tackle. So you feel probably pretty okay there. As an aside, Tampa Bay Bucks, very interesting to me. They dropped the cream uniforms. Really like those. Also would say, like, Bucky Irving, if you're a fantasy player, I've talked to people in the league. Wherever that guy's going, probably should be going higher. Next question comes from Larson. Here we go. And I'm going to go quick here down the stretch. The Vikings have over $23 million in cap space now, which is much higher than needed for an injury cushion. You think they're looking at another extension or an external signing, or you think it's flexibility to use when they need it? It's all flexibility for whenever. And Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, and internally they always use this term options and opportunity, meaning you give yourself as many options and opportunities to make your team as good as possible for the short and long term. That's just how they view it. The Vikings have the money for this year. If they need a corner, that's an option. If they need, another position in the event of an injury, that's an option. If they don't, if they need something at the deadline, that's an option. You can absorb a trade, a player's contract via trade. And then if you don't need anything and you need to roll that money over, and they do need money next year from the cap perspective, and there are a lot of ways they can restructure guys and it'll all work out. But if they need to just roll it over and that's the most sensible option, that's probably the route they take. But you have the options and opportunities if they exist, and that is sensible to me. Next question comes from Delon. Who do you think would step up into the receiver 3 role if Addison does receive a suspension? So Jordan Addison, if I'm not mistaken, is going to have a hearing Thursday to probably finalize some of this stuff. Could be suspended 3 games. If that happens, the 3 targets will be Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson, and Jalen Naylor. But I get it. So, and a lot of times you got 11 personnel with 3 receivers on the field. Who's that going to be? I think the candidates are probably, it's a Ty Felton. But can he learn positionally quick enough? Rondale Moore, similarly, how quick does he learn the playbook? What type of spots would he be put in? And then there are other, Tim Jones is kind of an under the radar signing, mostly for special teams. Could he, be a run blocking type, force? We'll see. Would they just lean heavily into 21 or 12 personnel where you just got the 2 receivers on the field and you lean heavy tight ends? Like, there's a lot of ways to slice it and dice it, but not really crazy worried about that, truth be told. And then lastly, Purple Persuasion. Do you see a deal getting done with Jonathan Grenard before the season starts or before guys like Henderson, Watt, Parsons, or Hutchinson drive the price up? I guess the question I would, first of all, haven't asked anybody about a Jonathan Grenard extension. His contract runs for 3 more years. Like, the guaranteed money is only another year down the road, but it's not like an Andrew Van Ginkel who was only signed to kind of a 2-year but 1+ deal. Whereas Jonathan Grenard, again, the contract goes for 3 more years, and I don't think it voids until like 2028. So, like, with his production, is he worth more? Yes. I mean, like, he's worth near the top of the market, absolutely. Now, he's still getting paid a lot, and then he signed the contract when he did. So I just don't, I'm not sure. Yeah, the price will go up, but also, I mean, the Vikings signed him to the deal they did for a reason. Now, I mean, I could see it both sides. I think if Jonathan Grenard really feels discouraged or disappointed or whatever, like, the Vikings will want to make this guy who's a tentpole player of their team feel really good. But I mean, he was signed to the deal he was signed. And I just don't think, like, we're coming up on this. I don't think there's this, like, deadline spur deals type of situation. So that's probably how I'd answer that. All right, that'll do it for episode 96 of the Alec Lewis Show. Don't forget the giveaway. All the information's in the description below. Really easy to get done. Please go check out First Resource Bank. They have sponsored this show and helped keep this thing rolling. And then go check out The Athletic. Doing a fan survey over there where some of the things I talked about, just get your thoughts. And that is always interesting as we lead into another season. And then, I mean, we're ramping up next week with training camp. So stay locked in. A show to come later this week as well. Stay tuned for much, much more announcements, conversation points. Lot coming. So stay locked in. The Alec Lewis Show. Thank you guys for being here and have a phenomenal middle of the week.